This is the Your Sports Resource Podcast, where each week you'll learn actionable strategies that you can implement so the operations of your club support your coaching staff and the direction of your organization. We are committed to excellence in youth sports leadership. Let's get started. Hello and welcome everybody to the Your Sports Resource Podcast. Today I have special guest Hernan Chousa. And he is an Argentinian author, businessman, and public speaker. He lives in Buenos Aires and runs a global zinc flake coating business. He is a former professional tennis player, willing to help his experiences in parenting through books, talks, and online courses. He published My Son, the Tennis Player, How to Help Your Kids Succeed in Sports, and has just released ParentShift, the skills you need to become a super parent. He also wrote Unplugged, a rock story, his first novel where he could fuse two passions, music and writing. He is married to Mariana and has two sons, Julian and Sebastian. All right. Welcome, Hernan.
Hi, Renata. Thanks for having me today in your podcast.
Oh, no problem. Listen, I found you, I think you found me. One of us found each other on LinkedIn, social media, and I really started to connect with your posts regarding, parents and how to parent an athlete properly for both each side's success. So the parent can be happy and the child can be happy. So what led you to, this type of endeavor or this work, like putting out information for parents who are parenting athletes?
Well, as you said, I'm a former tennis player and I have two sons, Julian and Sebastian, and they played tennis since they were young. And even though I barely use a tennis, I made plenty of mistakes with them. They start playing really early, 3 or 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And Julian, the elder one, was really gifted. He was one of the best in the country in under 10, under 12, and played international tournaments. And at that moment, we just started putting more passion in his tennis than himself, Yeah. And his drive about tennis started to settle, and his ranking too. And later on, 15 years old, he quit tennis. And at that moment, I started writing my first book, My Son, the Tennis Player, where I share some insights about the circuit and start dissecting all the things and the threats that are in youth sports parenting. Because when my kids play, no one told me about how to behave, how to act, what to be aware about. And I thought I have all the answers, and I realized that I didn't. And sometimes it happens to me that I gave some advice to some relatives or some friends, and they are kind of on a microcosmos that they don't listen, that the youth parenting is a really tough environment. So we have to be aware of it, and we have to work on certain skills,
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because you talk about, I think I can relate to growing up as an athlete. You think you got a handle on how to parent your children as athletes. And it's very different because, we expect them to, not to say that, we were the best athletes or we handled ourselves the best, but we always expect them to live up to our own expectations as we were as athletes. And we have to understand that and we would never put this on any other kids. So I just think it's really interesting that you form that relation of like, ooh, just because I was an athlete, maybe I really don't know how to parent an athlete.
Yeah, what happened is that we think that our kids are the best in town, and we treat them like superstars. And they have to find their own way. They have to make their own mistakes, and they have to go their own path, So we want to avoid them of making mistakes, and we are making some errors in that way of thinking,
So I read in one of your blog posts that there are 4 essential cards to play for successful parenting or sports parenting. And those are: 1, be aware of our words and actions; 2, work with professionals, so the coaches; 3, family balance, and 4, encourage effort, not results. And I think 1 and 2 people really do understand, but what I'd really love to do is have you dive into points 3 and 4, like family balance and encourage effort and not results.
Okay, there are a couple of things about family balance. First is that we tend to compare our kid with another ones. And
Yeah,
there's always someone better. Always someone better. And don't worry if he or she didn't appear yet, he will come up soon. So never compare your kids to another girl or to another boy. And you can compare himself to his yesterday's version, how he developed a skill, how he developed a stroke, how he put some grit on the match, but never compare him with another kid. That's a big
mm,
mistake parents do. The second thing that I realized in my parenting journey is about the forgotten son, because when you have a kid that plays sports, maybe you have another one that or he or she doesn't play, or he
right.
play in a lower level. So we tend to forget about this kid, and we don't dedicate too much time to him or her, or we don't give them quality time. So that issue I call the forgotten son, and it happens in many sports families. Can you see many guys that make it in sports that on the bench they're all his brothers, sisters that are
Yeah,
kind of relegated, you know? So there I think you have to be wise enough to make another kind of programs with them. And you mentioned about my novel. My novel is a way was a way of unloading my guilt with my younger son Sebastian, because he's the main character, and we
yeah.
start sharing his life because he's involved in music. And as I have to write, I have to see some places where he he went every day. So I try to make some bonding with him in that stage. Um, and the other thing is the dinner table. At the dinner table, sports govern all conversations,
Yeah.
and that's a thing that we have to work on. So we have to search for another topics, uh, school topics, uh, music topics, whatever topic that can get the conversation out of sports. Because if not, we're going to talk about sports 100% of the time, and that isn't healthy, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really key. I think both those last 2 points are really key. I don't know if I would characterize it we forget the child, but it is very easy that, if you're constantly running to practice and events that you don't carve out time, for the child who's not involved in sports. So I really love that point, and I had never thought about that before, that we really have to make sure that they get equal time in some way, shape, or fashion, whatever that looks like. And I definitely hear you on the dinner table, because I remember that, myself being younger, sometimes you just need a break from the conversation. When swimming's a little bit different. It's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, and it's 6 days a week, 6 days a week when you're at a competitive level. So sometimes you just want to break from talking about sports, and when you're constantly, and I get why it may come up, because parents probably feel like that's the opportune time to have a conversation, because they haven't had it all day or all week. So I get that. But yeah, sometimes it's really good to choose to go a different direction to normalize their life. Like, how's school? How are your friends? What do you want to do this weekend that's not swimming or any other sport? I love that. I really love that.
Yeah, and the second point you mentioned was about prioritizing efforts instead of results. You don't have control over results, but when I meant prioritizing efforts, there's a good story about it of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
When he quit basketball, he started making novels and making some sports characters of inside to make notice about sports. And it was tough for him to show her daughters that he was working, because an office job is difficult to show that you are working.
Right.
So what he do? He started training with her kids. and start showing them that he was willing to do the effort to train and to sweat and to be there. And that's a thing that parents maybe can have a good advice, because we tend to tell our kids to do the push-ups or to do the abs, but we're not willing to do them. So maybe if we are willing to do them, they're gonna watch us and they're gonna relate to our activity, you know.
Yeah, as long as you don't make it a competition.
Yeah, but you know something, you're overweight and you say your kid that he have to run 5 miles. Come on, maybe you can run 1, or you can do 10 push-ups, you know.
Can you focus a little bit more on the encourage effort and not results? Can you give a few more examples on that?
Well, in fact, what I said to you recently is what I do every day, because kids don't relate to words, kids relate to actions. And I wake up every day at 5 a.m. to write every day. And my kid know that I'm writing every day at that time. And once he came from a party and he said, nah, don't worry. Once he came to a party and he said to my wife, I arrived 4:30 just before my dad wakes up, you know, and he knows that I'm there very early. So I'm willing to do the work, you know, and that's a good example for them, you know.
Yeah, I get you. All right. So one of the areas that some coaches really have a hard time is constantly being questioned by parents that feel they know better, or that their child is being treated unfairly for whatever reason. It may be true. It just may be they feel like they want more attention. What advice do you have for parents that feel like they have a right to interfere with the coach's ability to coach?
Yeah, once I asked to a sports psychologist about parenting models, and he said to me there are 2 models of success: 100% control, maybe you can relate to Richard Williams, or totally relaxed. Maybe you can relate to Roger Federer, that his father doesn't know whatever he does. Both models are successful. All in the middle tend to be a failure. And I was in the middle most of the time. And it's difficult to be 100% in and 100% out. So that's a good thing for parents to know. And the other thing is that parents aren't in the science at school, at science or at math. They aren't there. So why they have to be willing to question the coach at practices? The coach has more time with the player than themselves, so maybe they know certain things that the parents don't know. I have a personal story. My father used to go to the club where I practice, and he used to question why I was playing in that group and why I wasn't allowed to play in a higher level group, you know. And I play sets every day, and I start lying my scores to my dad, you know. And that's true, because I don't want to get punished. And once he went to question coaches, and they say, hey, he loses with this guy, he loses with this guy. So I had a rough time at that moment, but coaches know everything, you know. And there is something that
so essentially what you're saying is sometimes the parent, sometimes the parent doesn't have a true picture about what's happening in practice. They only have their one side of view, what they've witnessed or what their child has said, not necessarily exactly what's happening. And not only like result wise, you know, how much effort they're putting in practice, but also there might be like a long plan that the coach has, like they've got to master this piece before they can move on. And I think that's probably like a big area that I don't think that a lot of parents understand, that, you know, there is progression, and just because the progression isn't happening to way you think it should be happening doesn't mean that it's not taking place. And you need to have a little bit of confidence in your coach to take them through that.
Yeah, I think that the coach have to talk to parents, maybe once a month and tell about the goals, what they're working on, what are the plans. But that's it. You don't
Yeah.
have to be every day, all the time. They are questioning coach work, and if they are in that position, they are there for a reason. Maybe they are one coach that isn't skilled, but mainly they are there for some reason.
Yeah. When you said total control or no control, were you talking about the parent or the athlete?
I'm talking about the parent.
Okay.
In tennis is very common. You see maybe some guys that are trained by the parents, and the relationship is very rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rough and abrasive. And yeah, so maybe I suggest you be more relaxed. And if you're in
Okay.
the middle and you're all the time questioning, it's not a good behavior.
Okay. So how do you recommend that they back off or unplug from their child sport? What would you recommend that they do?
I think there are two main actions that they can do. The first thing is kind of weird, and they don't want to do it for sure. Is not to attend practice.
Yeah.
I love to attend practices. I love to attend practices, but you're putting pressure on the kid or the girl, and that is their space where they bond with their other guys, other girls, and where they bond with the coach. If you are there, that bonding won't happen. So I think for parents, it's better to do other job. You can leave your kid or your daughter on the field, on the swimming pool, and go to read some book, listen to a podcast, or you can do something else. Because if you stay there, when you return home, you're going to talk about the practice for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is important is to pick a hobby. You need some activity outside your kids' sports that you do only by yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to get out of your kids' sports. You have to work on it because you go back to the sports all the time. And they know that, you're willing to talk about it, you're willing to help them. So it's this kind of a pressure.
Yeah.
And if they see you back up, they want to feel more comfortable.
Right. I love what you said that, a lot of coaches try to put coming out of COVID, it was kind of a really good thing because a lot of at the pools, if kids were swimming, parents weren't allowed to be on deck, and there was a lot of growth that took place. And I think you hit the nail on the head that that's their space. Let them have their space, right? And if you're there, then they're always looking over at you. Is mom watching, or am I doing the right things? What is she going to say? So I really love that the statement of giving them their space. And then also, if you're there, you're going to go home and talk about swimming again. And I want the audience to understand, if a parent is listening, that it's not that we it's it's not that we're telling you not to talk to your kid about their sport. However, when it becomes the dominant or the main conversation of everything that you talk about from morning to the end of the day, that comes it feels like pressure, whether that's your intention or not, right? Don't you think that's the case? The kid interprets that as pressure.
Yeah, parents can relate better if I say that they are micromanaging their kid. If you're in your job and your boss is all the time there talking about that Excel that you mess it up, and that job that you miss, and it's kind of unhealthy.
Yeah.
So don't micromanage your kid. Leave your kid or daughter uh, be by their own. Be available. Be available. For
Right.
sure, if you back up, they will ask for some advice or for some help, and give the help.
Yeah.
Give the
That's
help,
great.
but don't brag about it, because we tend to brag about it when we do something right. It
Yeah.
happens to
Yeah.
me also. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe you nail it, but then you don't have to brag about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you will be humbled pretty quickly. Like you said, someone else is going to come along, right? I mean, it's good to be proud of your child about accomplishing something, right? But just make sure it's balanced with a bit of humbleness in that, they will either stumble in order to grow, or someone else is going to come along and knock them off the pedestal, right?
Yeah.
So how should parents handle that disappointment in their child's performance? Like, so it doesn't totally crush the child, right? Because I think it's natural for us to like really want them to excel. Maybe they have, in swimming, maybe they have a desire to make a cut to go to a certain meet or to drop certain amount of seconds in their time. And they're going to be disappointed. And I think that's if they don't reach it. And I think it's natural for them to be disappointed. But how do we make sure that we don't pile on to that disappointment?
Yeah, we have to understand that failure is an opportunity for them to grow, and they have to come back by their own. They don't want to listen our words.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there are a couple of things that I can share about confidence and happened to me. First is join a lower group, because you need to win, and
Mm-hmm.
the best way to win, to learn to win, is winning. When I was young, I was 12, 13 years old. I practiced in a club. We are a ton of kids and girls, and they split it into groups, the good ones and the not so good ones.
Yeah.
And I thought that I was going to be on the good ones, but I end up being on the big group. But the good thing, I was really upset. But the good thing is that I was the best in this group, and the coach played all the time with me, and I practiced a lot. And after 6 months, I started beating all the good ones one by one. So being in a slower group and learning to win and getting used to win is a big thing.
Ooh, I
And then
like learning to win. That's
learn,
really good.
the only way to learn to win is winning. And
Mm.
you can go to a slower group. It's a great confidence booster. And the other thing is practice. The other day I was reading a quote about Michael Phelps that he said that he practiced 1 year long every Saturday and Sundays. And that's a good example, Maybe
Mm-hmm.
if you're underrated in your sports, you have to practice more. So uh, you have to set the bar high. When I was 14, at the club there was some kind of occasion, and I went to train to the USA. I trained 2 months, and then
Mm-hmm.
when I came back, I qualified to the nationals. It wasn't a miracle. I practiced 5 hours a day, while the
Yeah.
other kids were on the beach.
Yeah. So how do you translate that into a parent not piling on that disappointment though? Like how do parents handle their disappointment? What should they do if they're disappointed in a child's performance?
I think parents have to leave the initiative to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to rush and give solutions. Solutions have to be from the kid. And
Yeah.
if the kid wants to train more, okay, you give the resources to train more. And if the kid wants to do that, okay, you give the resources to do that. But the main thing has to be from the kid, and maybe can have a conversation with the coach. How the coach sees your son or daughter, how does she feels, and he and the coach maybe can give a better approach to the topic, and you don't erode the relationship with your son or daughter.
Yeah. I was reading something the other day that talked about, and I added it to this parent's handbook that I wrote for swimming. And there's two sides of it. And that was um, be okay with your child being disappointed in their performance, right? And let them have that space to be disappointed, right? And so don't add on to it by your own disappointment, but also like don't go in with fake, it's okay, I thought you did great. Like, cause they know how they performed. So just, I think, be there for their disappointment and stand there and be around them and show them that you support them. Sometimes it doesn't always come in the form of words, because I think we tend, when we come in with words, we come in on either side. We come in hard and hot, because we're also disappointed, or we try to hide the fact that they didn't have a great race or practice or whatever it is. And when we do that, then we kind of discount them and we discount their opportunity to, I think one of the biggest things that you learn in sports is how to set goals and how to handle failure, right? Because not every race or match or whatever it is ends the way you think it's going to end, right? Even if you've had a great 2 months leading up to it and you're going to nail this time and at this meet, and something happens on the day, right? So sometimes disappointment really comes and the kid needs to learn how to process that and overcome it. So by you coming in hot, puts even more pressure, so they won't learn and grow. And by you saying, oh, it's okay, I think you did great, well, there's nothing to learn there. So I think we as parents need to learn to just say, to be there in that space with them and be okay with them being disappointed and helping them out of it,
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I can add some practice, because we all want to talk. We want to solve the problem. So a couple of deep breaths before talking can be great.
Yeah.
So maybe take 5 minutes, and then if you still want to say what you intended to say, okay, say it. But take some time to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something I do with my clients, maybe I should have done with my own kids when I was younger, is, do you want me to help you solve your problem, or do you want me to listen? And then that's what I provide. And I think a lot of times clients are like, yeah, I know, I just want to vent. Okay, that's cool. I'm here. Okay. So you have a course online. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, in fact, I am a big fan of courses or reading books, and I find courses very, very helpful to build muscle, to change habits, because it's a progressive learning. That course, the genesis of that course was a talk that I have to give in a presentation at a summit, and then the host said to me, okay, there's a next summit, and you can load a course if you want. So I recorded it,
Right.
and it's 25 videos. And the good thing is there's one task every video, so you can watch one video per day, and you perform the task all day long. So you're continuous performing on your habits and building your parenting skills.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, because something, our habits are our parents' habits, and maybe they are not the healthier, So we have to change our model. We have to change our model, and the only way to change it through repetition. If you read a book, maybe you are 1 hour reading the book, but at the end you're gonna start with the same old habits, So you have to start building new connections in your brain and start practicing different things.
Oh, I love it.
So
Where
yeah,
can they find this course? And what's the name of it?
ParentShift is
Okay.
the name of the course, and you can find it on my website. It's hernanchousa.com, and I create a coupon for your followers.
Okay.
The coupon is REN, your name, REN 777. It's a 30% discount coupon, and I think I am a big course purchaser, and
Yeah.
I think if you get one idea, it's worth it.
Yeah,
Just one idea,
absolutely.
because it can change your life. One idea can change your life. There, I explain about not attending practices, what to say or not to say on the ride home, the family table.
That's great.
Yeah, many things to take into account that I didn't have it when I had my 2 kids, and now that my kids grown up and I have all this stuff on the web and online, I have to be a better parent, I can't. Yeah.
Now that you can look back and you're not in the middle of it.
I have to have patience. I have to shut my mouth. I have to do many things because I'm involved in this business,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll put the links and the discount code in the notes for the show. Where else can people find you?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You put my name on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Instagram, my nickname is Hernan.Chousa.
Okay.
And that's are my main social media
Okay.
platforms.
Wonderful. All right. I have one last question for you. So, if you had one piece of advice for parents, what would it be? If you had one shot and had to make the most impact in 30 seconds, what would that one piece of advice be?
Main advice: take care of your significant other,
Mm,
because it's the only person that will be there for you. Coaches pass, friends pass, but your significant other will be there. And I've seen too many broken couples in sports, mostly
oh,
when results fade up. Yeah, it's a really challenging to have a kid playing sports. It's very
yeah.
tough there. So you have to be very bonded with your significant other. Don't listen to the outer noise. And I want to with a quote that when I dedicate my book, I put this quote all the time, and I think it's very nice. And it says like this: "You don't raise heroes, you raise sons. And if you treat them like sons, they turn out to be heroes, even if it's just in your own eyes."
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. I love it, and I really
yeah.
love your statement about taking care of your significant other because I did not expect you to go that direction. He threw me a curveball, but it's so true. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. All right, so I we'll put all of your information in the show notes so everybody can find you, find your course, and we'll link to your books and your website and everything there so everybody can find you. I really appreciate you joining us today and sharing your wisdom about working with parents. And I hope this message reaches a lot of parents and that they go and get your course and learn and develop those habits, which I love that it's one a day, develop that habit for the day. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. I feel really, really comfortable. The conversation, I think, was very, very helpful. And yeah, it's an everyday process. I used to say that it's every day you have the opportunity to get closer to your kid, and no
Yeah.
matter what happened the day before, every
Yeah.
day you have the chance. So, and it's not very very common get some people to work on sports parenting, and I think we are pretty few, and we have to make some noise.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you.